bit about the homeless prevention kit.
I'm Fallon Kingery, and I'm the Community Services Director at PICCA. And I'm going to talk about the homeless prevention program. So PICCA does a lot of different things around homelessness, and so one of the things is our prevention. So we have our homeless shelter, but within that, we're only allowed to serve veterans. So with our prevention program, we can help people that are coming in off the street that may need a hotel room, may need deposit money, may need that month's worth of rent money because they had an emergency come up. They may need something like a gas bill paid or electric bill, different services like that. PICCA offers other services, but they're always income-based and have a lot of guidelines that sometimes not everyone can meet. A lot of people do go to work every day, but they still can't meet their bills because a lot of jobs don't pay a lot. And these people do struggle even though they're trying every day. And so unfortunately, not all these grants that we get help these people that struggle. So with the United Way funding that we used to get, now the PCCF funding that we're applying for, we can help people that are working every day that just need that one-time assistance. So this money that we're applying for, the person can only apply one time for it. And it's just for that one-time assistance for somebody that is working to meet their goal. So like this year, we helped somebody that had COVID and they were in the hospital and they missed their rent and they were getting evicted. So it was before the COVID money was out. So we were able to pay that person's rent so they could have a place to stay. We had a family that had a fire and they had nowhere to go. So we were able to use that money to put them up in a hotel room. We had a family that mom had cancer and she either had to pay her electric or get her medicine. We paid the electric bill. So this funding does lots of wonderful things that people don't really see that it's doing in the community. A lot of these people that are using this funding don't want to ask for help. That's why we don't really advertise it a lot. So we get referrals from people like Mark that just left. Mark gives us a lot of referrals for this kind of money. And we're able to just kind of fill in the gaps. So when people come in and we have to deny them for services, we always have this kind of funding to be able to offer them something so they never leave empty-handed when they're trying to just make their ends meet. We were able to provide with this also, I think, 27 people with hotel stays last year. With that being said, 29 of those were kids that were attending local schools. So that was calls from guidance counselors saying 29 kids were gonna be homeless that night that we were able to put up. We were able to provide food for those kids in those hotel rooms and transportation back and forth to school so they would have education. And then the schools were able to go ahead and work with them to move them to their next spot. What else am I missing, Nick? I feel like I'm talking too fast. This money has just been, it's just a wonderful pot of money that we're just able to meet different things with. So our veteran shelter also, so our veterans, when they come in and sometimes we're not able to get them services, we're able to use this money to help our veterans. Because if they do not produce their DD-214, the VA can't help them. So this pot of money also helps us help our veterans until they're able to produce this DD-214 till they can go into shelter so they're not sleeping outside. Clearly we know the problem with homelessness in the community. Last year we were able to count upwards of 75 homeless people living outside. Not all of them want to be sheltered, but some of them do. And this kind of funding helps us do that kind of thing. So this money also we spend on different things like Neosporin, peroxide. We've used it for hand warmers for people that are going to stay outside. We've bought a tent before with that money. So just different supplies for people that are going to stay in the wilderness. Coats. It's just a great funding to help kind of do different things for people that have to stay out in the elements that don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, well, so the big thing with funding like this and resources like this is even though PICCA is not a government agency, 95% of the programs that we operate are funded by the state and federal governments. So with that comes a lot of guidelines. There are countless hoops that people have to jump through, and sometimes we jump through all these hoops only in the end to find out that the person doesn't qualify. There's some little hang up somewhere along the way that prevents them from being able to qualify for state and federal funds, because ultimately at the end of the day, when we get audited, you know, my conscience says, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and pay this, and the government's the government, let them be, right? But if they come down and audit us, that file happens to get pulled and all the I's aren't dotted and T's aren't crossed, that puts our funding in jeopardy. So having these pots of money, these funding sources like this go a long way for us to fill the gaps that our normal, larger amounts of funding aren't able to cover. And that's across all the programs: homelessness, job training, wheels to work, everything we do. It's nice to have that supplemental funding to help folks out.
So my question